People walked by him every day. Some looked at him with confusion, others with pity, and many didn't even notice. He was just a man with a long stick, a torn bag, and old gloves picking litter from the footpath. His clothes were dusty, his slippers worn out, and his face quiet. He didn't speak much, he just cleaned. It was early morning. The shops were still closed, and the streets were slowly waking up. He moved from one corner to the next, collecting wrappers, bottles, plastic, and old papers. He wiped his forehead, smiled at a crow nearby, and placed a crushed bottle in his sack. No one knew his name. No one cared. Until that day, a little girl stood at the bus stop with her school bag. She watched him quietly. Her friends were busy with their phones, but she kept her eyes on the man. She took out her small phone and began recording. The man didn't notice. He was too busy chasing an empty packet that the wind kept pushing forward. Why does he do this? She whispered into the camera. He's not paid. He's not from the government. Then why? That evening, while sitting at home, the girl uploaded the short clip on her social media with that same question. She added, "My city ignores him, but I saw something pure in him." She went to sleep without thinking much. The next morning, everything changed. Her phone was full of notifications, thousands of likes, hundreds of comments. Her short video had gone viral overnight. People from different cities started sharing it. Some said, "We need people like him." Others said, "Shame on us for not helping." But one comment stood out. It was from a profile with no picture, just one sentence. "I know who he is, and you won't believe his past." The comment got thousands of likes in just an hour. People began asking, "Who is he? Tell us more. What's his story?" The girl was shocked. She clicked on the profile, but there was nothing. No bio, no posts. Just that one strange comment. Her heart beat faster. She looked back at her video. The man was bending to pick something. His face turned just for a second. His eyes were tired, but there was a deep kindness in them. Who was he? At the bus stop that day, the man was still there doing the same thing, like nothing had changed. But now, more people were watching. Some were secretly taking photos. Others whispered while passing by. A shopkeeper called him. "Bye. Did you know you're famous now?" The man didn't respond. He simply nodded and continued his work. Later that day, a local reporter came looking for him. "Sir, just one question. Why do you clean the streets?" The man looked at him and said quietly, "Because they're dirty." "But who are you? What's your name? Why do you do it alone?" He shook his head and walked away. The reporter looked confused but curious. He posted a short reel of the man walking away in silence, and it added more fire to the story. The mystery of the litter picker was growing, but behind his silence, behind the gloves, and behind that tired smile, there was a story no one had heard. A story that started long before the girl's video. A story filled with pain, choices, and loss. That night the girl received a message in her inbox. It was from a stranger. No name, no DP, just one file attached. A blurry photo. It showed the same man but younger, smiling, wearing a school uniform and holding a certificate. There was a caption below the photo. This was him, before life changed everything. The girl's hands trembled. She typed back, "Who are you?" But no reply came. She stared at the photo for a long time. The man in the picture looked so different, but the eyes were the same dot. The next morning, she returned to the same spot and waited. The man came, as always. He began picking up bottles near the bench. She walked up slowly and said, "Sir, I made that video. I didn't mean to bother you." He looked up and smiled gently. "It's okay. The city forgets easily. But why do you really do this?" she asked softly. He looked away, then down at a torn packet in his hand. He didn't answer. She took out the old photo and showed it to him. "Is this you?" He froze. For the first time, his smile faded. His hand stopped moving. His eyes stared at the photo, and something deep inside him shifted. "Where did you get this?" he whispered. "A stranger sent it to me," she said. He looked up at the sky, took a deep breath, and sat on the bench. "Then maybe it's time someone knew the truth," he said. She sat beside him. "What truth?" she asked. He didn't answer right away. He took off his gloves, folded them neatly, and kept them in his bag. Then he looked straight ahead and said, "I wasn't always like this. I once had everything, but I lost it all because of one decision, one letter, one storm." The girl's eyes widened. "What happened?" she asked. He looked at her, his voice low. "It began the day I came home and found my family gone." And with that sentence, the past began to return slowly, painfully, ready to reveal what the city had forgotten, and what he had tried to bury beneath silence and trash. But now, someone was finally listening, and someone was about to uncover a story that the world never expected. He stared at the ground as if the dust still held the memories. The girl sat beside him, holding her breath. He didn't speak for a while, just watched the traffic pass. Then slowly he began. "I was 22, he said quietly. "Just finished college. My parents had saved everything for my education. We didn't have much, but we had hope. I got a job offer in the city. We were all so happy. My mother hugged me for the first time in years. My father had tears in his eyes. I promised them a better life." The girl listened closely. The city noise faded around her. "I moved into a hostel. It was noisy, crowded, but I didn't care. I was full of dreams. First month, I sent money home. Second month, too. Then the third month changed everything. He paused. His hands gripped the edge of the bench. There was a scam at my office, he continued. A big one. Someone used my ID. They blamed me. Said I took money I never even touched. No one believed me. Not the company. Not the police. He looked at her with quiet pain in his eyes. I was fired. They told me to leave the hostel. I had no proof. No lawyer. Just one call to my father. He didn't speak. He just hung up. The girl blinked, shocked. What about your family? He smiled sadly. I went back home. It was raining. I walked the whole way because I had no money. I knocked on the door, and it didn't open. Our neighbor came out. He looked at me like I was a stranger. He looked away. He said my parents had left, sold the house. No address, nothing. They were ashamed, the girl whispered. But you were innocent. He nodded slowly. But shame is louder than truth sometimes. He stood up and picked up a wrapper near his feet. I slept on benches for weeks. Worked at tea stalls. Cleaned drains, picked bottles. People laughed. I didn't stop. Because I knew I didn't do anything wrong. His voice was soft but steady. One night, I saw a kid throw a plastic bottle into the river. I told him to stop. He laughed and ran away. But I stood there, staring at that bottle floating. I felt helpless, angry, so I picked it up. He turned to her, and that's how it began. Not because I was a hero, but because I didn't want to stay angry anymore. The girl's eyes were full. He smiled gently. Years passed, I picked litter. Quietly, people called me mad. Some gave coins. Others spat near me, but I didn't stop because every time I cleaned, I felt lighter, like I was fixing something, even if the world wasn't. The girl took a deep breath. Why didn't you tell anyone your story? Because no one asked, he said, with a half smile. She wiped her eyes. People need to know. They need to hear this. He looked down the road. They'll forget. No, she said firmly. I won't let them. That evening she posted another video. This time it was longer. She spoke to the camera with tears in her eyes. His name is Anwar. He once had a job, a family, a future. But one lie destroyed it all. Now he picks litter, not for money, but to heal. The video showed clips of him cleaning, then sitting on the bench, then picking up a child's toy from the roadside, and placing it gently near a tree. She ended the video with a message. Let's not just watch him, let's stand with him. The video exploded. Thousands watched it within hours. News pages picked it up. Celebrities reposted it. The hashtags began. Hashtag Anwar, the silent hero, hashtag respect for real people. Then something unexpected happened. An old man saw the video on his son's phone. His hands trembled. He stared at the screen for a long time. Then he whispered, "That's my son." His wife looked up in shock. The man cried, "He's alive. It's really him." The old couple hadn't slept in peace for years. After disowning their son in shame, guilt had eaten them alive. They had believed he had stolen Bayat. They had believed the newspapers. But now, truth was shining. That night, they made a decision. They would go find him. But would he forgive them? Would he even recognize them? The girl, unaware of this twist, received another message, this time from a different stranger, a journalist. I know the man who framed Anwar, the message read, and I think it's time his truth came out too. Her eyes widened. She replied instantly, "Who is he?" The response was chilling. A man who now runs for public office and built his career on the lie that destroyed Anwar's life. She froze. Was this real? Was this story even bigger than she thought? She looked out the window. Somewhere, Anwar was still picking litter, but the storm that once broke him was about to return, and this time, he wouldn't be alone. It was a cloudy morning. The girl waited near the bench with 2 cups of tea in her hand, but Anwar didn't come. For 3 days straight, he didn't show up. She asked the chaiwala nearby, "Uncle, did you see the man who picks trash?" The old man nodded. He looked tired. Said he was going away for a few days. Her heart sank. Just when the world had started noticing him, he had disappeared. She opened her phone and checked the comments. The video had crossed 5 million views. Now, people were writing long messages, some saying they cried, others saying Anwar inspired them to change. And then, a new message popped up. It was from the journalist again. "I found the man who used Anwar's ID. His name is Faizan Malik. He was Anwar's manager back then. Now he's contesting elections." She typed quickly, "Can we prove it?" The reply came fast. "I have copies of the old emails, files, even a confession from an old colleague." But no one dared to speak. Until now. She stared at the screen. Her hands shook. The story wasn't just emotional anymore. It was political, dangerous, but deep inside, she knew this was bigger than her, bigger than Anwar. This was about truth. She sent one message, "Let's meet." That night, they met at a quiet cafe. The journalist, a thin man with tired eyes, handed her a file. "These are the original records from the company," he said, backdated, signed under pressure. Everyone knew Anwar didn't do it, but Faizan needed a scapegoat. "Why didn't anyone say anything back then?" she asked. He sighed. Faizan's uncle was on the board. Anyone who spoke got fired or worse. She looked through the papers, photos, signatures, messages between Faison and another staff member, Anwar, laughing about how no one would believe the garbage guy. Her eyes burned. He destroyed his life and just walked away. The journalist nodded. And now he's giving speeches about honesty and youth empowerment. I've seen liars. Bafazan, he's something else. She clenched her fists. I want to show this to Anwar. He deserves to know. Do it soon, the journalist said. Faison is powerful. If he finds out someone's digging into the past, he'll try to stop you. The next morning, she returned to the bench, and this time he was there. Anwar sat quietly, watching ants carry crumbs across the footpath. He looked thinner. His eyes had bags beneath them. You disappeared, she said gently. He gave a faint smile. Needed to think. I didn't know what to do with all this attention. I'm not used to people looking at me like I matter. She sat beside him and held out the file. I need to show you something. He opened it slowly. Each page turned brought a new expression to his face. Shock, sadness, anger, disbelief. And then, silence. When he reached the last page, he closed the file and stared into space. He really did it, Anwar whispered. I always wondered. Always hoped maybe. Maybe it was a mistake. But this was a plan. Tears formed in his eyes. But he didn't wipe them. I lost everything. My family, my name, and he. He got promoted. She placed a hand on his shoulder. It's time people know the truth. He looked at her. And then what? They'll feel sorry for a few days. And forget. She shook her head. Not this time. You're not just a man who picks litter. You're a man who survived injustice with dignity. That's powerful. He stared at her for a moment, then nodded slowly. Okay, let's do it. That night, she uploaded a second video. This one was different. It wasn't just about picking trash. It was about betrayal. About the cost of silence. About a man who was broken, but never bitter. She showed the file. She spoke the name Faison, is the man who stole Anwar's life. She ended the video with a question. Will we let liars lead us? Or will we stand for truth? The video shook the internet. News channels picked it up. People started tagging Faison. Some demanded an answer. Others began digging deeper into his past. Faison's PR team responded. This is a political attack. We deny all allegations. The man in the video has no legal proof, but the documents were real and the noise was growing louder. Suddenly Anwar's name was everywhere, and then something happened that no one expected. One evening, as Anwar was sweeping a sidewalk near a local park, a black car stopped behind him. He didn't notice until he heard a familiar voice. Anwar. He turned around. It was his father, older, slower, holding a walking stick. Behind him stood his mother, her eyes already wet. Anwar dropped the broom. His father stepped forward, voice shaking. I saw you on the news. I thought you were gone forever. Anwar couldn't speak. His mother reached out, placing a trembling hand on his face. I'm sorry, Beta. I was scared. I believed the wrong people. We both did. He stood frozen, tears running down his cheeks. You left me. His father lowered his head. I know, and I'll regret it till my last breath. But if you can, forgive us. Anwar broke down. He hugged them both. The world blurred for a moment. The pain, the years, the away in one long embrace. The crowd nearby watched, stunned. And someone caught it on video. Within hours it went viral. A new hashtag trended. Hashtag Anwar, reunited but far away. Someone else was watching too. Faizan, inside his campaign office. Through his phone across the room he shouted, shut this down. Now, but it was too late because the truth was out, and people were finally listening. He woke early, as usual before. The city stirred, the streets were empty, except for the soft rustling of leaves and the distant honking of cars. Anwar grabbed his broom and dustpan and stepped out into the cold morning air. The weight of the past days pressed heavily on him, the viral videos, the reunion with his parents, and the growing storm around Faison Malik, yet he moved with purpose, just as he always had. As he swept the corner near the park, a small crowd began to gather. Whispers filled the air, phones lifted to capture his every move. But Anwar remained calm, focused on his task, ignoring the growing attention. Suddenly a small boy ran up to him, holding a crumpled candy wrapper. Here, sir, the boy said shyly, handing the litter to Anwar. Anwar smiled warmly. Thank you, little one. Every little bit helps. The boy's eyes sparkled, inspired by Anwar's gentle spirit, but amidst the crowd, a sharp voice called out, Anwar. It was the journalist who had helped reveal his story. We have a live interview scheduled in an hour. This is your chance to tell your truth to the whole country. Anwar hesitated. The thought of cameras and thousands of eyes watching terrified him, but deep inside, he knew this was the moment to speak, not just for himself, but for everyone who had suffered in silence. He agreed. An hour later, under bright lights and before a sea of microphones, Anwar sat nervously. The anchor smiled warmly. Anwar, your story has touched millions. But now, with the evidence against Faison Malik, what do you want to say? Anwar took a deep breath. I want people to know that no matter how dark life gets, kindness and honesty can light the way. I didn't pick up litter for fame or attention. I did it because I believed in a better tomorrow, and I want everyone who feels forgotten to know they are not alone. The audience watched, silent and moved. But as the interview ended, a man in a sharp suit slipped backstage. He was Faizan Malik's chief advisor. His phone buzzed. "We have a problem. Anwar's story is gaining power. We need a plan." Days passed. The city was alive with debates, protests, and support for Anwar. The government promised investigations. Donations poured in to help him start a community cleanup project. Yet, late one night, Anwar's small rented room was broken into. Nothing was stolen, but a note was left on his table. "Stop now, or face the consequences." Fear crept back into his heart. But this time Anwar was not alone. The girl who first recorded his video, his reunited family, the journalist, and thousands of strangers stood with him. And as dawn broke, Anwar stepped outside, broom in hand, ready to clean the streets, just of trash, but of lies and fear. After the threatening note, Anwar's life changed. The fear was there, but so was a new strength. People from all over the city sent messages of support. Strangers helped fix his broken door. Local shops gave him free food. Volunteers joined his cleanup efforts. His story was no longer just his, it belonged to everyone who wanted a better city. One morning, Anwar received a call. It was from a well-known TV channel. They wanted to do a live interview. This was different from before. Pressure was higher, the questions sharper. He knew this was his chance to speak louder. When the interview began, the host smiled. "Anwar, your story is inspiring, but some say you're just a street cleaner with a viral video. What would you say to them?" Anwar looked straight into the camera. "I'm a man who was broken and made whole by simple acts of kindness. The trash I pick is just a symbol. What matters is the respect we give to each other and the courage to stand for what is right." The viewers loved his answer. But then came the difficult question. What about Faizan Malik? Are you afraid of him? Anwar took a deep breath. "I fear no one who hides behind lies. The truth is stronger." After the interview, as Anwar walked out, a man stepped forward. It was Faizan Malik himself. The tension filled the air. Faizan said coldly, "You've caused me much trouble, but you're playing a dangerous game." Anwar held his ground. "I'm not afraid, Faizan. The people want justice." Faizan smirked. "Justice. The courts will decide. But beware, the past has many shadows." Before Anwar could reply, Faizan turned and disappeared into the crowd. That night, Anwar sat with his brother and the girl who first recorded his video. "Why doesn't he just admit it?" the girl asked. "Because power makes people blind," his brother answered. "But we have something stronger: truth and support." Suddenly, Anwar's phone rang. It was the journalist. "I have new evidence. A secret recording. It could expose Faizan for good." Anwar's heart raced. "Send it. I want the world to see." The next day, the journalist uploaded the recording online. In it, Faizan's own words revealed the scam and how he blamed Anwar. The city exploded with reactions. People demanded Faizan's resignation. Protests filled the streets, but the danger also grew. Anonymous threats reached Anwar's phone. His family's safety became a worry. Yet amidst the fear, Anwar kept picking litter. Each piece he collected was a step toward healing his city on himself. One evening, a letter arrived, no sender. Inside, a single line: "We are watching you." Anwar folded the letter calmly. He looked at his brother and said, "They want me to stop, but love and truth don't stop." And with that, he stepped out once again, broom in hand, ready for whatever came next. The letter weighed heavy in Anwar's pocket, but he refused to let fear control him. Every morning he awoke, before dawn, sweeping the streets quietly, just like before his story went viral. The city watched, some with hope, others with doubt. But Anwar's heart was steady. One afternoon, as he cleaned near the old market, a group of children gathered around him. They laughed and helped pick up trash. Their smiles reminded him of better days, of the simple joy found in small acts. Suddenly, a woman approached. She was well-dressed and calm, but her eyes held urgency. "Anwar, I'm Dr. Mena. I work with a foundation that helps people like you who want to change their communities, but lack support." Anwar wiped his hands on his pants. "I'm just doing what I can." Dr. Mena smiled softly. "What you're doing is more than that. We want to help you expand your work: cleaning drives, education for street children, health camps." Anwar thought about it. The thought of help was tempting but also strange. For years, he believed change came from himself alone. "Why now?" he asked. "Because people see you. Your story gave them hope, and hope can start a movement." He looked at the children playing nearby. "I want to do more, but I don't want to lose who I am." Dr. Mena nodded. "We'll help you stay true." Together, they planned a community event. Flyers were printed, volunteers gathered, and on a bright Sunday morning, the streets buzzed with activity. Anwar led a group of people, young and old, cleaning parks, painting walls, planting trees. The media returned. Cameras captured Anwar smiling, surrounded by helpers. The girl who first recorded his video filmed every moment, her eyes shining with pride. But amid the cheers, Anwar's phone buzzed again. Another message: "Stop the lies or face the consequences." This time, it was different. Instead of fear, Anwar felt fire. He stood up in front of the crowd. "I'm not afraid. This city is my home." And together, we will protect it. After the event, his family gathered around him. His mother smiled, her eyes moist. We are proud of you, Beta. His father, once silent, said, you have given us new hope. Anwar looked at his brother and said, this is just the beginning. But not everyone was happy. Faizan Malik's campaign was losing support fast. His advisors urged him to silence Anwar by any means. One evening, as Anwar returned home, a shadow followed him. His heart pounded. He quickened his pace but stopped suddenly when the shadow spoke softly. Anwar, I'm not your enemy. He turned to see an older man, unknown to him. I used to work for Faizan. I saw the lies, the threats. I want to help. You. Anwar's eyes searched the man's face. Could he trust this stranger? Why now? He asked. Because I believe in truth, and because I want to see change too. The man handed Anwar a folder filled with documents, proof of Faizan's corruption and plans to sabotage community projects. Anwar felt a mix of relief and fear. With this, the fight could end. But the danger was closer than ever. He looked up and said firmly, thank you. Let's do this right. As night fell, Anwar sat with his family and the girl. They planned their next steps, ready to face the coming storm. The city was watching, and Anwar was ready. The day of the big protest had arrived. Streets were packed with thousands of people holding signs that read, Justice for Anwar, truth cannot be silenced, and clean streets, clean conscience. The energy was alive and powerful. The city was waking up not just to litter, but to the truth. Anwar stood quietly at the front with his brother and the girl who recorded his story. His mother and father were there too, holding hands tightly. His heart pounded, but he felt ready. As the march began, reporters surrounded him. Cameras clicked and microphones were pushed forward. Someone handed him a microphone. He took a deep breath and spoke, I am not a hero. I am just a man who picked up trash because it needed to be done. But this story is not about me. It is about all of us, about the power of truth and the strength we have when we stand together. The crowd cheered loudly. For the first time, Anwar felt the city was truly behind him. But behind the cheers, shadows were moving. Faizan Malik watched the news from his office, furious. His political career was crumbling. His lies were exposed, and the police had started investigations based on the documents Anwar received. Faizan's advisor warned, we need to act fast. This protest could ruin everything. Faizan nodded coldly. Prepare a counterattack. We'll smear Anwar's name. Meanwhile, at the protest, Anwar's phone buzzed. A message popped up. Meet me at the old factory. Alone. Now. Anwar's hands trembled. The protest was still going, and people were counting on him. But he knew this could be dangerous. He looked at his brother. I have to go. His brother nodded, worry in his eyes. Anwar walked toward the abandoned factory. The air was heavy and silent. He heard footsteps behind him. A man stepped out of the shadows. It was Faizan Anwar. Faizan said, voice low and sharp, you've caused me a lot of trouble, but this can end. Anwar stood tall. Only if you admit the truth and fix the damage you've done. Faizan laughed bitterly. You think I'll ever do that? You're just a street cleaner. Nobody listens to you. Anwar's voice was calm but strong. Today, thousands listen, and tomorrow, millions will hear. Faizan's smile faded. You don't know what you're up against. Suddenly, police sirens echoed nearby. Faizan's face turned pale. Officers appeared, holding a warrant. Faizan Malik, you're under arrest for fraud and corruption. Faizan tried to run, but the officers caught him. Anwar watched, his heart beating fast. The next day the city celebrated. Faizan was in jail, his lies exposed. Anwar's story was no longer just about picking litter, it was about standing up for what is right, even when it is hard. Anwar returned to his street cleaning, but now with new helpers. Volunteers came daily, inspired by his courage. One evening, as Anwar sat with his family and friends, the girl smiled and said, your story changed so many lives. Anwar looked at the quiet streets, now cleaner than before. It changed mine too. He picked up a small piece of paper from the ground and threw it into the trash bin, because some battles are fought with words, but some are fought with simple actions, and Anwar knew no matter how far his story traveled, he would always pick litter like before. The city was different now. Streets sparkled in the sunlight. People smiled more. Trash bins were no longer ignored. Anwar's story had become a movement that didn't need cameras or headlines. It was in the hands of everyday people. Anwar walked the familiar path, broom in hand. Children played nearby, picking up wrappers and chatting excitedly. The girl who first recorded his video walked beside him, her eyes shining. Do you remember when no one cared? She asked softly. He smiled. Yes, but I never stopped. They reached a big billboard near the city center. It showed Anwar's face with the words, a cleaner city starts with one step. Anwar paused and looked at it. A small smile touched his lips. But then he bent down and picked up a candy wrapper lying on the ground. Still the same. The girl whispered. Anwar looked at her. No matter how big the story becomes, the work stays the same. Cleaning streets, helping others, being kind, that's what matters. One afternoon, Anwar received an invitation. It was from the city mayor, asking him to speak at a ceremony honoring his work. He thought for a long time. Pride and fear battled inside him. He wanted to accept, but part of him worried about losing himself in the spotlight. Finally, he agreed, but with one condition: he would speak only about the people who helped him, the children, the volunteers, the quiet heroes who pick up trash every day without thanks. The ceremony was grand. Reporters crowded the hall. When Anwar stepped onto the stage, applause filled the room. He spoke simply: "This honor is not mine alone. It belongs to every hand that helps, every heart that cares. Change begins when we choose to act, no matter how small the act may seem." The 20th crowd stood clapping for minutes. Backstage, his family hugged him tightly. His mother whispered, "We are so proud." His father added, "You gave us back hope." After the ceremony, Anwar returned to the streets. A little boy ran up and asked, "Will you still pick litter, Uncle?" He knelt down and smiled. Yes, always. The city had changed, but Anwar stayed the same, because his story was not about fame or money. It was about love, courage, and the simple power of doing what's right even when no one is watching. And as he picked up a small piece of paper near the sidewalk, Anwar knew this truth would carry him through every day to come.